everyone, welcome to my show. Be sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch for all my exclusive content. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Tiberius here with a quick video for you today. Trying to keep it quick. We're building the GS-31, which a lot of free-to-play should be unlocking this week. I know a couple people got it earlier in the week. I was expecting to get it on Thursday during my Thursday night regular stream. I miscounted by a day, so here we are today, Friday morning, completing this, and we're going to just build it right now because, quite frankly, I would love to hold it for a stream, but I don't want to fall two more days further behind with building this thing and doing some upgrades and stuff for it. So let's just get it going, and we'll try and keep this as brief as possible. We're going to build the thing. Takes me 20 days. We'll wait for some helps, and we'll speed this along, and then we'll show it coming out of dock here in just a second. All right, here we go. Now, she doesn't look like much, but she's got it where it counts. Wait, wrong franchise? Yeah. Not a pretty looking ship. I mean, I think effectively GS stands for what? Garbage scow? Because that's pretty much what it looks like. But like most specialty ships, it's either the special ship ability that's nice, or it's the refinery that's nice. We're going to take a look at both of those in just a second. Equipped with Apex Shred, increased damage versus Apex Raider hostiles, and the devastating gravitational blast active ability, the GS-31 is the ultimate Apex barrier hostile killer, providing a significant advantage in solo wave defense. Activate gravitational blast to fire a devastating beam attack that damages player ships and non-armada hostiles. If the primary target is a hostile, the beam splits to hit additional hostiles. Use it to destroy multiple targets with a single attack. Use the GS-31 to destroy Apex Raider hostiles in the Elite Solo Wave Defense and earn GS-31 recon data to access new exclusive rewards in the GS-31 refinery. Refinery rewards include GS-31 parts and covert modifications to upgrade the ship, officer shards, and ship parts. It's a long-winded saying that get more stuff. So let's go right to the refinery, right? GS-31. Once you have the ship, this unlocks, and you now have the ability to get different things here. The GS-31 Strongbox, the material that this uses here is this recon data. This is completed by doing the elite version of the solo waves. Each round of those that you complete will give you more and more of it. That currency, which you can have an abundance of, then has a cap on it. Basically, it's a 2-chest refine of spending 500 a day. As you can see from doing solo waves over the last couple months, I have 70,000 of this stuff, which means I can 2-chest pull this for 140 days without ever doing another solo wave. Of course, I will, because we'll keep having solo wave pass events. So sourcing this material, I mean, this isn't going to be the hard part. This is small amounts guaranteed at tier 1. The cost stays the same the entire run, looking at the chart, which I'm going to pull up here in just a second. So there we go. Here's the chart. See GS-31 Strongbox. It's a 22-hour cooldown. The cost stays the same the entire time. As you tier up the ship, there are certain ops locks, it looks like. But as you tier up the ship, the amount of parts you get increases. The amount of this covert modifications, which should be the research material, increases. And then these additional recycle tokens that you get also stays fixed the entire time. Those get used in this other refinery over here to get ship parts, which we'll look at in just a second. You can also use the same material that you use to open the box. You can use to open this officer chest, which we'll also do in just a second. So maybe it's not 140 days. Maybe it's now I'm spending 750 a day. So that's a little bit less. Probably closer to about 100 days. All right. So I'll leave the link for that spreadsheet in the video description as well. Shout out to Jules and Blue Mandalorian and all the guys who helped put that thing together. You guys do amazing work, and thank you for what you do. So we do our 2-chest pull. We get some recycle tokens. We get this. This is for research, I believe, for the ship, and this is the GS-31 ship parts to use for upgrading. There's also the officer chest here, as you can see. you're most likely going to get one rare or two rare officer shards. That basically accounts for 70%. 7 out of 10 times, you're going to get one rare or two rare shards starting at tier 1. As you upgrade the ship, you can see that the percentages start to change. It's a bit of a bell curve, right? They start to move towards, all right, you're moving away from one shard and moving into the 2 or 3 shards, or perhaps the epic chance is getting a little higher and higher. And as epic, you have Section 31 Giorgio, who's great. We would love more sourcing for Giorgio. Same thing with Rachel Garrett, has great abilities. Zeph is okay. And then Riker and Una, I guess just because. I don't know. I didn't see the movie. Do they have anything to do with the movie? Or do we just think that the GS-31 just needs more speed? And they're like, let's give them officers that increase that impulse speed. You can tell me in the comments, because again, didn't watch the movie. Heard it wasn't good. All right, so we did that. Now the other thing we got were these recycle tokens, which we can convert for ship parts. Now, because of the tier of my ship, it's only tier 1. I'm getting small amounts of ship parts, but you can see right away because of my ops level, because I am G6, I have this little G6 flag right here. I am also getting G6 on common parts. Not getting rares and stuff yet. If we go back to the chart, I'm sure it'll tell us when we get rares kicking in here. Let's slide this over a little bit so we can see it better. All right, so at tier 1, because of my ops level, I'm getting everything in the top row. If I were lower ops, if I wasn't 61 yet, I was still 51. This is what I would get. If I was still, in the 40s, I would only get this little column, these columns over here. So I have to get this thing all the way to tier 6 before I actually start getting G6 rare parts. That's going to take a little while. Maybe we'll get some event stores or something that will start sourcing GS-31 parts. Now that free-to-play has unlocked the ship, hopefully that will grease the wheels a little bit and speed up the growth process of this ship. But it's not until, G5 rare parts you start getting as early as tier 3. G4 rare parts you start getting right away. And then it kind of becomes fixed in a flat number the rest of the way here. Once I get to tier 9 of the ship, the G5 parts become fixed. And it's the same all the way through, because effectively I'm now moving into what would be considered the G6 range. So that's where those numbers are going to continue to increase. But I have to get this thing to tier 6 before I start getting rare. Rare's what I'm most interested in, because again, it's harder to get, and it's what you're going to need for the better levels of your ships as you progress them. I'm going to be working on next. My Minerva is what I have. It's tier 9. That one I'm pretty much done with, but I am going to move next to, when I get to 66, the Velox. So I think I'm going to take this to start sourcing some more interceptor parts. Oh, it does cost 200 per chest. Okay. So you basically have to do a double pull. If you single pull this, you only get 100, so you'd be doing it every other day. So you kind of have to do the 500 double pull in order to have enough parts to do one refinery pull here. I could also do survey ships. Forgive me, I thought I was going to sneeze there for a second. Probably should have paused the video instead of the microphone, but I thought it was going to be shorter. I could also start working on survey ship parts if I wanted to try and get those cell keys up a little bit higher, especially now that we need them for this new flashpoint stuff. But no, we're going to take the interceptor parts for now, so I can start preparing for my next ship. Plus, 4-star interceptor parts will help me finish up my pylum, so we can get rid of that. Did not get no 5-star rare yet. I get 4-star rare. Good. We'll finish up the pylum. Perhaps I can keep that, or perhaps I'll scrap that. It gives me 5-star parts. I mean, my Rotaran's also already maxed, so I don't necessarily know that I need that, but it's nice to have the option. The other thing that we did get out of this was some research. So let's go look at that in the Starship tree. If we scroll all the way over past all this other stuff, past the relativity, all the way to the end. Okay. Now here's where we're using that covert modification stuff. This is where we're going to do our research here. We're starting off with, oh, hang on a second. Before I do that, I should actually look at the ship and its stats. Let's look at the basics. Let's just swap this ship here. So it starts off very low power. The ship itself, its abilities, increases Apex Shred against Apex Raiders in solo wave defense hostiles by 25% is what we're starting at tier 1. Also increases base damage against those Apex Raider hostiles, starting off at 115,000%. And if we go over here to stfc.space, we can take a better look at the ship here and the damage the gravitational blast and stuff is using. Starts off at tier 1 at doing 4.5 million. And as you tier up the ship, that number increases. It also increases, I believe, the number of targets that it will hit as you get higher and higher as well. I've seen people shoot out, I think it's 7 targets is the max you can go. Don't quote me on that one. Here's the Apex Shred ability. Starts off at 25% at level 1. Before you've even tiered up the shit, you take it to 5 levels here, and you can get it up to 40% right away. So that'll certainly help against some of these newer hostiles that come into the game, because more of them seem to be having Apex Barrier. So the GS-31, you see it a lot in the Flashpoint systems as well, people using it outside of solo waves, so it does have some multiple purposes to it. The other thing here, doing the hostile damage bonus, this one is fixed based on tier. You can see 1 through 5 is doing the same damage bonus, but then as soon as you take it to tier 2 and get it up to level 6, now it jumps to 175,000, where it remains constant, and then it jumps to 290,000. So you're getting big damage bonuses very early on in the process. And then it kind of flatlines here by like tier 4, it only goes from 290 to 300. And then 320, and it's kind of steady for a while. 370, 380, 395. Now that's interesting. 44 is 380, 45 is 395. 46, which is tier 10, this is probably another ops lock tier. This is probably moving into G6 territory right here. So as soon as you do that, it jumps again. So this is probably where you're ops locked. It's giving you a little bit of an extra boost in between there while you're ops locked. And then it's going to make the other jump, and it's going to keep scaling up until eventually the ship maxes out. And again, you look here, level 70, we're only doing 500,000. But as soon as you take it to 71, it more than doubles, and now you're at 1.1 million. And if we go back to our chart here and look at this stuff, and we look at ops locks on the ship tier, which I think is back here. Yeah. So you can see tier 10 here is ops 61. So there's where you're seeing that big jump we were just looking at. And that other one where it goes from 500,000 to over 1 million is right here, tier 13, 70 to 71. In that range there. So you're talking about being ops 67 to take it to the final 3 tiers. Yeah, because this is 70, this is ops 14, tier 14. And then when you go to tier 15, that's your final tier here. That's where you're seeing this huge jump from 14 to 15. So actually, when you're ops locked, it's actually a little lower here. Your ops locked is here, 64, 65. Again, seeing that tiny little step increase. Like, hey, we know you're ops locked. We're going to give you a little bit of an extra damage bonus. And then when you get to the next level, it'll be another small little jump in between there too. Okay, so handy little ship. Base stat wise, DPR not the most impressive because it's all coming from the damage bonus on the outside or the specialty ability. This is going to be some hazard resistance that it's going to have just because of my research at G6. I'm sure there's more research for it. Hull health and shield health not great. Impulse speed okay. Warp range starting out at 197. Again, with some bonuses that I probably have active from like Fleet Commander Kirk and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and let's do some research. So first things first, we need more speed. More warp range, please. That's an extra 50. Now it's up to an extra 100. Take that one and get to 225. Now we're going to 400, so that wasn't bad at all. 550. Okay, so now this thing is basically like warp 700. And it didn't really take a whole lot of that currency to do it. Other researches that we have. So here's the multi-target gravitational blast. This is going to increase the number of hostiles to 2 levels on this. You're adding up to 2 additional targets. That would be a good one to prioritize getting. And then here's your boosting the blast damage. Well, that seems like a big one to boost. That's an extra 60 million hit point damage points. Yeah, that seems like a big one. Only against wave defense hostiles, though. But that certainly seems like that's going to have an impact. This is one for PvP. When you shoot the hostile, if you don't kill it, it puts them in a weakened state for a very short period of time, giving you a couple extra seconds to go fight it and kill it. This will make it even easier to kill because it's boosting the Apex Shred. So, okay, so that's fun. It does have some hazard resistance here. There's a research for it to give us some hazard resistance. For those of you who are G6, a couple levels here, this will certainly make the potential to auto farm in the flashpoint systems now where we're seeing all that extra hazard come into play. Pretty good. That's basically straight through the middle here to get that unlocked. Base ship part cost efficiency for G4 ships. If you're still in the G4 range, this will obviously help you progress faster, upgrading those ships moving through G4. If you're using G4 ships to scrap to get G5 ship upgrades, like if you're doing that Jellyfish Enterprise A loop to then get your Enterprise D upgraded faster, this will save you ship parts and resources, making that more efficient. There's the crystal gas ore. There's the ship part one, so and it has 5 levels to it, so you can bring that cost down even further. We do like that. There's your blast against players, and then this is more crit damage against those that are in that weakened state. Weakened state, yep. Okay. So I think what we want to do here, this is repair cost efficiency as well. Okay, so I think we're going to take this one, Wave Defense Hostiles. I mean, that's an extra 60 million damage right there. Like, that seems like a good one to start with. To get that damage number up so that it actually feels useful. And does something there. Alright, so we got the first level of that. Now we're out of parts. We'll have to wait until we get more research materials to go any further. But even just from that little bit of stuff, we boosted the warp range. Now you can see it's over 800. Can't quite make it to G6 territory yet, but it can get through just about any G5 system, I think, at this point. And we haven't even started upgrading the ship yet. So we got 800 parts. That's going to get me just a couple of components here. They're all starting off about 300 a piece. So not going to be able to do too many upgrades. Probably just 2 or 3. Depending on... probably only 2, actually. Maybe 3. This is a small warp range upgrade. I don't think I want that one yet. Shield seems good. I always tend to start with more of the defensive ones. Armor seems good. And we can get the impulse engines too. So that just added a nice little chunk of defense. So maybe the thing will live a little longer. And then we'll go ahead and just take our ship levels, get our abilities up a little bit, unlock that first officer slot at least, so we can take this thing out and actually do something with it, and see what it does. All right, real quick, let's go back to the chart for a second, because here you can see your upgrade charts, cost, and times. The amount of parts you're getting should take about 7 days. 7 days for you to be able to upgrade it to tier it up to tier 2, unless you happen to have any parts that maybe you got from a battle pass or an event or something like that previously. And then as you're progressing up, this is kind of the standard progression. This you're getting a fixed income of parts. This is your upgrade timeline, and I think total, I think they said it's somewhere around like 200 and something days, which is better than a lot of other specialty ships in terms of upgrading it. You know, it seems like none of these tiers, they're all going to take, between 2 to 2.5 weeks for the most part as you progress through all this stuff. And if we go look at the GS-31 over here, ship info, you can see the solo wave defense damage. We're looking at that. There's the apex shred we're also looking at. You can also see the beam damage. Also, it starts off at 3 targets. Then it goes up to 4, then it goes up to 5. And then if you have the research, you're also adding on top of that as well. You'll get number 6 and 7. Some research highlights talking about the warp range upgrade. Here's your beam targets. It is ops locked as well. 51, you can get the first beam plus bonus. 61, you get the second bonus. There's also the damage extra bonus. Different in PvP, of course, it's significantly reduced in PvP. You can't get your hazard resistance until 61. And here's where a little helpful details about using the actual beam. Sorry, had something stuck in my throat there. So using the actual beam, this is kind of what we're looking at. Where it's best to do these certain things and what you can actually hit. And as you can see, if they're telling you like from tier 1, like right off the bat, you're only doing 60 million damage, like you can't necessarily kill some of this stuff. So it's going to weaken some of them. It'll do some damage to some of them, but it's not going to kill those hostiles. So you're still going to need other ships to actually attack them. Or perhaps after you beam it, use the GS-31 as well. Now the beam does also have a cooldown on it too, so be careful about that. I don't think there's anything else in here. Here's the research, days to finish. Yeah, it's a lot of days to finish all the research. But I don't see anything else that kind of, that's about it for the chart. Okay. So let's go take this little puppy here on a test run. And let's see what she can do. Now I do have to do a solo wave. Right? Season pass? Yeah, the wave defense pass just reset. Okay. All right, so we're going to go for the Elite 50. And let's see how this works. All right, I took a second to pause and just buff up real fast I threw some Cerritos buffs on my main 2 ships because I have a feeling the GS-31 is not going to live very long. So let's find out. If I just do this right at the start of the fight, like I pick a hostile and zap it, what happens? Okay, we killed a couple of hostiles right away. The cooldown on this thing starts at 5 minutes. So I probably won't be able to use that again before the end of the fight. But I guess we'll find out. Maybe if I drag my feet a little bit, by the time I get to like wave 4 or wave 5, maybe that cooldown will be back up again. Probably not. So you want to make sure you hold it maybe for later rounds. Usually people use it in like round 4 or round 5. I hear most often. We're going to find out what she can do. All right, so far doing okay with the early level hostiles. Oh, that one snuck through. Damn it. I did those out of order. Wasn't paying attention. Too busy recording, not paying attention. Now we have less margin for error. But that did kill a minute. Let's see what else we can do here. You go that way. Now there's only so much I can stall. Of course, because of the impulse speed on these things. Alright, seems to be holding its own okay through the first couple of waves here. Now these are the 50s that I'm taking on. We are using a Janeway crew on the ship. Janeway Doctor Anorax is what we started with. And we're only down to 3.5 minutes, so probably not going to be able to use it again. Again, as you tear up the ship, the cooldown does get better. But certainly something you do want to hold off on using until later rounds. Now we're getting into some of the Reavers. These guys should be hitting a little bit harder. Yep, and there goes the GS-31. Alright, so I guess we're 2-manning it the rest of the way. Repair time, not bad. 17 million and about an hour. I think we're still going to be okay, but... Okay, so we managed to beat it. The ship went just fine for the first 3 rounds. Died on the first hostile I killed in round 4. It's not bad for a tier 1 ship. It actually was fairly useful and not just a complete waste of space. If I had saved the beam for later too, it would have killed everything through rounds 1 and 3 just fine. And then I could have beamed things in round 4. Or had it not attack at all and save the beam for round 5 and, you know, did what I did there, pick off some stuff in round 4, beam everything in round 5, and then, you know, it would die and let the other ships do the heavy lifting and cleaning up the work. So overall, it seems like it's going to be an okay little ship. And then as it tiers up and gets stronger, like I said, you're going to see people have used it out in other areas of space with that beam hitting for, you know, starting off at what, 60 million, did we say? If I speed up the repairs, does it tell me? Gravitational beam. Damage versus non-armada hostile. So tier 1 is 4.5 million, but I did the research, so it's actually 64.5 million. So that's fairly decent against a variety of things. Probably not against your G6 hostiles until you get it up quite a bit or get the research up quite a bit. But if you're just farming, you know, G4, G5 stuff, right out of the box, it should do pretty good for you. So there's the quick unlock and reveal of the GS-31. Obviously, if you have any suggestions on things that I could do better, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you live on my next Twitch stream, and you can tell me all the things I'm doing wrong. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you around the galaxy.